Well, good evening, friends, and welcome to the podcast. We're here with our good friend Midge ROSEBROOK tonight. How you
Good
doing,
evening,
Midge?
people.
Nice to see you.
Yeah,
Now, Midge and I have been talking behind the scenes, and we decided before we get too far into the new year, we wanted to remember some of the loved ones that we lost in 2024. So that's what the theme is tonight. I'm going to pop the graphic up so you can see some of the people we'll be talking about. We'll be talking about Gary Allen, James Spranger, Roger Poulin, Bruce Beaurivage, Clark Paige, and my father, Donald Lapierre. So we've got a full hour here for you. It's going to be a good time. Any
yeah,
thoughts, Midge, before we get started on this? Or
yeah. Unfortunately, as Mike and I was talking off camera, we've lost four, I think, Hall of Famers right after they were inducted or shortly after. Bruce Beaurivage and Bruce Dunham and Bob Clark and Kenny Young, um, Conrad Rollins, and gosh, here we go again, Mike.
yeah, and we lost some good ones this past year too.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and everyone we're going to be talking about tonight is either associated somehow, either directly or indirectly, with the podcast or with the Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame. And hopefully, my voice will hold up. I think I'm coming down with a cold, but we're going to push through because we really wanted to do this. And as they say, the show must go on.
Yeah, yeah,
But but yeah, I guess let's just jump right into it. I'll let you do this one, Midge. This is your friend and mine.
yeah, yeah. This is Greg Allen's brother Gary, the one in the black and red checkered jacket, and he just Greg is on the left here, and Gary just recently passed away, and they're twins, and very close, and it's just devastated. The rest of us that know Greg hurt for him.
Yes.
It's an awful thing to lose a sibling, but it's even double to lose a twin because you were with this other person in the womb,
Mm.
and you grew up with this person. They've always been in your life. You had no time uh, where you alone. Really, you've had this other person, and to lose them, it's like losing part of yourself, really.
Yes.
And so we just hurt for Greg. And I met Gary a couple of times, and he's just a tremendous, wonderful guy. He was a gentleman. You could tell, and I told Greg to know you is to know Gary, and Greg is a hell of a nice guy, as you know.
Yes.
And he's done a lot for the Hall of Fame, and he'll do anything for anybody. And he's an avid vintage snowmobile collector. He sold off a few of his sleds in the last few years, but he had a lot of vintage Polarises. And he, as I say, he ran the camera for us at our inductions. He's been on the board of directors ever since we started in 2017. And so our heart goes out to Greg, and it's a big loss for him and his family.
Yes, for sure. And then we've got a message that you had been in touch with him about that we were going to honor him tonight, and he
Yeah.
sent you kind of a quick paragraph or two about he and his brother. And I'm going to pop that on the screen if you wanted to read that.
Yes. 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 He wrote back. He says, "Hi, Midge." He says, "That's very thoughtful and nice of you and Mike. Best brother a brother could ever have. Come hell or high water, he was there for me no matter what. Most honest, hardworking man I've ever known. He loved the outdoors, especially hunting. He was a master carpenter and built many local homes here in Glen. That's Glen, New Hampshire. That's where they live.
Hmm.
He was a jack of all trades, from building to running heavy equipment. He was a very giving man of anyone in need. He was a man of faith and knew his Bible front to back. Made friends wherever he went, and that's true. He was currently living in Jefferson, New Hampshire, and was road agent for the town of Jackson, New Hampshire. He is missed beyond words, and that is absolutely true.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. And we've got some comments that have come in. Here we go. Our good friend Mike Whiteside says, "My condolences, fellas. So sorry. We appreciate that." Also, quick shout out to Mike Whiteside. He's been sending me some images and video clips that we're going to be playing on future episodes. So we wanted to thank Mike for that. He's a very active and regular viewer of these podcasts that we do. And pardon me, I'm coming down with a cold here, so I apologize. Our good friends Stacy and Art Fosler from Plattekill, New York are here, and they're saying hello. Nice to see you both. Very cool. Very cool. Now, we don't have any video clips of Gary, but we do have a video clip of our mutual friend Greg. And as you were saying before, you and I are close friends with Greg. We know him through the Hall of Fame. And yeah, just a real good friend. He's a board member on the Hall of Fame. So I've got a video clip of Greg showing some of his sleds. And the two of you are both Polaris guys, which I'm sure is an endless source of conversation for the two of you. Let's meet Greg here and look at some of his Polarises. This is from the Crane Show in 2018. And it's taken a moment to load, as frequently happens.
Name's Greg Allen. I'm from Glen, New Hampshire, and we're up at Paul Crane's Museum in Lancaster, New Hampshire for the 2018 Vintage Snowmobile Show. I brought up 4 sleds. As you can see, I'm a Polaris fan. First one I brought up is an original unrestored 1977 TX 440. This was considered a trail muscle sled. In the category it would be classed in. These, back in the day, they were one of the fastest sleds that year. This next one, this is what some people consider the holy grail of Polaris. This is the first year of the Polaris liquid-cooled TXL. It's 1977. These are extremely fast. They won a lot of cross-country races, ice races. I took 3rd place last year at the Kilkenny Cup.
Nice.
2017.
Nice.
Didn't wreck it. A lot of people go out and say, "My God, what are you racing that for? That thing is mint."
Yeah, no doubt.
Well, I'm gonna have fun with it.
Good. Yeah, you might as well enjoy it.
And this is a TX modified TX 250. This is all set up for oval racing also. It's got the handlebars and the loop tanks you can see there in the back.
Yes, yeah.
It's got the custom seat on it. It's set up. It only turns left. It won't turn right.
I like that loop tank. That's cool.
It's set up just for oval racing. And this is a 1978 RXL clone that I built.
Wow, that's a
It took me
beauty.
about a year and a half to get parts and pieces to build this from scratch. I had just a basic tunnel, and I built it from there.
Nice.
So I got a 3-cylinder, 440 motor in it, very fast in the day. This was what was Polaris known as the Midnight Blue Express when they first mounted this. That was the most winning sled ever in any snowmobile history.
Yeah.
Was that year. They just won every oval race it was, 1, 2, 3.
Wasn't that one of the first years with independent suspension in the
It
front?
was. They had been racing it some up in Alaska and had a few problems, and the other manufacturers kind of didn't really pay attention to what they were doing. But they knew they really had something special. And then when they had the first races, they were still, they didn't believe it, how fast and how far ahead they were. But by the 3rd race of the season, they said, Polaris is onto something. And, they actually tried to change the rules so they couldn't race it. But Bob Eastman put up a big fight. He had the rule book, and they had a big meeting. And there was nothing in the rule book that said their sleds were illegal. And he knew he had them.
Nice.
And Polaris just dominated that year like no other team ever has, and probably never will.
Yeah, for sure. That's amazing. Well, thank you. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Hey,
So yeah, that's your friend and mine, Greg Allen.
Yeah.
And we're remembering his brother, Gary Allen, who passed away recently, his twin brother. And like for everyone viewing this, to include them in your prayers, as we are during this time, and we appreciate anyone who's doing that. And anything more on Gary and Greg before we move on? Or?
Ironically, Gary never got the snowmobile bug.
Oh wow!
Greg was big in it, and we never could get Gary involved in it.
Wow.
He was involved in other things, hunting, and things like that. But and I think out of all of these sleds that he just showed, I think the only thing he has left is that clone that he built. And he had since purchased an original 1978 RXL, the original from the factory. And I think he's got that for sale now.
Wow.
Yeah. And but I kind of sold off his collection, just downsized. And
Sure.
but yeah.
I think it's safe to say too that Greg got snowmobile bug enough for the both of them.
Yes, yeah. Gee whiz, he had this is just what he had here is just a small sample of what he had in his collection. I think he had like 10 or 12 at one time.
Wow.
Yeah, Polaris's. So, but he since sold most of them all off.
Sure.
Yeah.
And our friend Mike Whiteside is here saying beautiful sleds.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
No, he took a lot of pride in them, and the things were mint, like he said that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, cool. So I'll remove this from the screen here. We're going to keep going. The next person we're going to remember tonight is our good friend James Spranger. Now, James was a regular viewer of the podcast, both the Thursday night podcast that I do with Rob, as well as what you and I do on Sunday nights. And I've gotten to know him a little bit online. He had Parkinson's disease, so it was difficult for him to talk. But he and his brother came on the podcast one time last year. And I'm going to
remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. In a few minutes, I'm going to play a clip of that. He wasn't able to speak very much, but he thoroughly enjoyed being on the podcast, as did I, and Rob as well. But let me see. I'm going to show a few images, and then I've got kind of a little blurb I'm going to read that John sent. And of course, I don't know if I'd mentioned this or not, but John and James are twin brothers as well. So we've got twins on here tonight. And let me find it. I've got an image here. John and I have met and hung out quite a few times. Good friend of mine. So we're happy to honor his brother here tonight. That's the kind of the connection to all of this. So let's take a look at some images. These guys were snowmobile guys from way back, both racing, trail riding, the whole experience. They were completely about the snowmobiles back in the day and all through the years. So here are some images of them all through the years, doing snowmobiles as a family and racing. And here's some other shots. And I've got a thing that John sent me, some comments about his brother. So James and I were identical twins. He wasn't just my brother. He was my other half, my confidant, my partner in crime, and the person who knew me better than anyone else on earth. From the moment we were born, we shared an unbreakable bond. Our passion for snowmobiling started in 1965 when we were the first to have snowmobiles. Our family loved snowmobiling together. In 1968, we both started racing snowmobiles. We had the need for speed, as many of us do. We burned the midnight oil together, doing our own setups and modifications to our race sleds to make them more competitive. We were very successful in our racing careers. After James's son was born, he fabricated a mini race sled that looked like a Formula One twin tracker. In the past 5 years, we started watching the Vintage Snowmobile podcast. In February 2024, we were invited live on the podcast to show our history of racing and snowmobiling. Jim absolutely loved it and watched it repeatedly. James' his last time on a snowmobile was 2 years ago. Since we didn't have snow last year, is the only reason he didn't go last year. I said they went on a ride, and then he said he wanted to go by the farm where we grew up and race across the fields. He needed what they called a speed fix. He ran his sled wide open across the fields, and when he stopped, he had the biggest smile on his face and gave me a big thumbs up. I can still see it now. Foremost, Jim was very meticulous with everything he did. He was an awesome fabricator and a body man. James was diagnosed 10 years ago with Parkinson's, and it progressively took him down, and it made it difficult for him to do the things that he loved. To my brother, I say thank you for being the best twin a person could ask for. Until we meet again, your memory will live forever, be in my heart. Yeah. So, yeah, our thoughts go out to James Spranger.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thoughts and prayers for sure.
Yeah.
And I've got the video clip of when they were on the podcast last year. Did you have any more to add to this, Midge, before I do that? Or?
Well, he nailed it when he said how inseparable they were. Let's face it, twins have that special bond.
Yes.
That nobody else has.
That's true.
And it's the same with, there's a couple of twins in my family, and I saw the closeness that they have. So
Yes, it's true.
yeah,
My girlfriend is a twin also, and yeah, there's a special
yeah,
bond there.
yeah. I've got some cousins that are twins.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, cool. Let me find this clip. I've got about a 5-minute clip here of John and James on the podcast last February. Let's take a look. With that out of the way, we're going to have some fun tonight, and I'm going to tell you why. We're bringing our friends on. Let me get the shot lined up here. Now, these are some good friends of mine. You're looking at John and James Spranger. They are twin brothers. John and I have been friends for a number of years now, and this is my first time meeting his twin brother, James, which is a real treat to meet James. Gentlemen, how are we doing tonight?
Good, Mike.
Well, good. It's really nice to have you on.
Can you hear us okay?
Oh, yes. Excellent audio. And then, of course, our dear friend and our co-host, Rob Hilditch, is in the house. How you doing, Rob?
I'm doing good, Mike. And yourself?
Doing well, thank you.
Is it warm where you are, too?
Yeah, I think it was 35 today. It could be
I'm
worse.
actually in shorts right now.
Shorts. Oh,
yeah.
That's just so wrong this time of year.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. But we've got a couple more comments that have come
Yeah,
in.
we had
Let's
another
take
day.
those. Go ahead. You've got what? Go ahead, John. What were
We
you
had
saying?
another day of 48 degrees.
48. Unbelievable.
Another
Wow.
day of 48 degrees.
Unreal. And then Teresa Spranger is in the house, says, good evening. And it's nice to support her dad and her uncle. Wonderful. Cool deal. David from Alaska Railroad says, good evening to Rob, John, and James. And James Whiteside says, what's a snow belt? LOL. Yeah, that's a thing of the past, I'm starting to feel. But yeah, so we are here tonight to talk about stories and racing and snowmobiling back in the day. And I guess the best place to start is, John and James, how did you get into snowmobiling? What are some of your first memories and experiences with snowmobiles?
Well, we got our first snowmobile in 1965. And that year we had very little snow. And we were on the farm. Of course, then the sleds had boggy wheels, so you didn't need a lot of snow. And we'd run around on the farm with the snowmobile and that. And then we finally got another sled the year later. And then we both got kind of into racing sleds then. So
Nice. And I think we have an image to support that. Is this bring back memories? Is this what you were talking about? These are the days?
yes. And Jim was a body man his entire life and an awesome painter and fabricator. And the two sleds on your left, the one with the black dot, is a 67 Olympic. And of course, Jim has to always make everything look cool in that. So he made it into a black dot. And then the next sled to the right there, that's a 65 Olympic. And Jim painted a black stripe on it to match the newer sleds, the 68s that are sitting to the right of that. So way back in the early years, he was 15 years old. He was already customized painting our sleds, you know.
That's amazing. That is amazing. And this is another image from that time, or maybe a few years ahead?
Yes. And then there's a picture, that'd be our father in the red. And me to the far left, Jim is on that Eland. And of course, Jim paints everything to his liking. And he painted that black and white on her to match the 72 TNTs.
Nice.
And then the black Artie Cat was my uncle from Milwaukee that was up.
Nice. And everybody was having a great time, I'm sure.
Yep.
Good
Now,
deal.
how many of those machines you still own?
I wish I had them all.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. And yeah, from here we can go over wherever you like. As far as we've got all of the images that we've got ready and video clips. Is there anything specific you'd like to go to as far as the next step with this? Or?
Just bring them up and we'll kind of talk, Mike, on it as we go.
Sure. All right.
There's Jim's RV. That's a 76 that originally had a yellow hood on it. And Jim put his spin on it, painted it black and striped it out. And that was a 340 RV. That was one of his sleds.
Beautiful. Yeah, that's a cool paint scheme.
Yeah. And there's a picture of me racing in first place there with my free air 73 Skidoo that I won a lot of races with. And we'll be talking about that a little bit later.
Yes, we sure will. In fact,
That's the picture of it there.
There we go. Yeah, the TNT free air.
Yeah.
Very nice. And some trophies in front of there from racing, I presume.
Yep. In those days, there was more cash payouts than there was trophies, but that's kind of the way it was. And then actually, when we got into racing watercraft, there was just medals and cash payouts. There was no trophies at all. So Yeah.
And
That
was
was
this strictly in Wisconsin or other states too, or did you get up into Canada at all, or
no, just Wisconsin.
Wisconsin? Yeah,
Basically
Cool.
central Wisconsin.
central Wisconsin. Perfect. And then let's see this shot here, another angle.
Yep, that's another angle of the race sled. That was a fast sled in its days. Won a lot of races with it.
Mhm.
And that's Jim's what, 75? 78. Okay, it's Jim's 78.
Now that's a cool paint job.
That's a 440 free air.
Yeah. And is this a paint job that Jim did, or is this factory paint, or?
I think that one looks pretty much factory, Jim. Yeah, he says.
Yeah.
He put the checkered tape around it
Nice.
and put the stripe on the tunnel.
Oh yes, yeah, yeah.
You know, he always puts his little accent on everything, makes him look
Nice.
good.
That's cool. Yeah, he definitely had a flair for making those sleds look nice, didn't he?
Oh, he did. Yes, he did.
Yeah, yeah. Always looked nice, and it was never overdone. In the images I saw, it looks like it was never overdone, but always just made it look really interesting and unique.
Yes.
And yeah, very cool. So yeah, our thoughts and prayers go out to the Spranger family, and we ask the viewers of this to please share your thoughts and prayers for them as well. And anything to add to this, Midge? Or?
Yeah, Parkinson's is a tough disease. That's what took Bob Clark, and yeah, between that and Alzheimer's, I don't know if two worse diseases.
Yeah,
You know, incurable. I mean, they're incurable.
yeah, and it's just a long, slow decline. It's really rough for the person and for the family and the loved ones. It's
Yeah.
yeah.
No,
And then we've got
it's just tough. It sure is, you know.
yes. And our good friends Stacy and Art Fosler say they like those TXs from the past clip, the previous clip. And then our good friend John Spranger Jr. is watching, which we really appreciate. He says, "Good evening. I'd like to give a big thanks to Mike and Midge for putting this memorial podcast together. We all have to keep this family and racing sport alive. You two are like," he said, "you two are like brothers to me. Thank you again." Absolutely. Yeah, you feel like a brother for us
John.
as well. Definitely. Yeah, John's a good man.
Yeah, sure is. Yeah.
And then, oh, here we go. Mike Whiteside. He was out in Wisconsin, I believe, last weekend. He said he thought of the Sprangers last Thursday and Friday. Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
So, yeah, let me, I'm going to pop this on the screen while I remove the video clip. But, yeah, thoughts and prayers out to James Spranger. Yeah, we lost some really good ones this past year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And, yeah, next was an inductee into the Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame. We did a full hour on him a few months ago, but we can't do this and not touch on him. So let me pop an image of Roger Poulin.
Yeah, Roger. Yeah.
Yeah. Anything to add on him or any thoughts on him? Legendary Eastern racer from the 70s.
Yeah, bigger than life.
Yes.
Yep. Roger was a kick. He was the life of the party, you know.
Yes.
You come into a room and it was all Roger from then on.
Yes, he light it right up.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even with his T-shirt he's got on, that just tells you about his personality.
Yeah. That was his tux.
Yes.
Yeah. His Elvis shirt.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then we've got this great image of him when he was younger back in the day.
Yeah.
I'm thinking
Handsome
mid-70s.
kid.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
This must be mid-70s, you think?
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah, it's 73, 4 along in there, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was inducted into the Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame. What was it, 2020 or 21? Do you remember?
2020. Yeah, it's boy, it's escaping me right now, Mike. But
yeah, it all becomes a blur for me as well.
Yeah, it's either 2020 or 2021.
Yeah.
Outside ceremony.
Yeah.
Yeah. Might have been the second one, which would be 21.
Yes. And then here he is with another legendary Eastern racer, Paul Lamontagne.
Yeah, Paul Lamontagne. He's another one that brightened up a room.
Absolutely. Your friend and mine, both of them.
Yeah. Love those guys.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, rest in peace, Roger Poulin.
Yes.
Definitely. And if you're interested in him and his career, we did a whole hour on him a few months ago. If you look wherever you're viewing this now, if you scroll back through the videos, you'll see a whole hour where we remembered him, went into
Right.
detail about his life, his career, and all of it.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, with Rick Simula.
Yes, that's
Right.
right. Yeah. And his sister was on too.
Yes.
Roger's sister was on.
Yes.
Unfortunately, we didn't have audio on her, but she was participating with comments in the comment section and everything.
Right. Right.
And she was very helpful and supportive as far as getting things to us to help us to remember him on that.
Yeah, very close to Roger. She was. Yeah.
Yes. So the next person we're going to remember is Bruce Beaurivage. He was associated with the Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame. You and I both know him very well. And
Yes.
do you want to kick this off? Or
Well, I met Bruce at Tim White's funeral. Tim White was a local electrician, and of course, when he was younger, he raced skidoos for Roberts Motors at first, and then Timberland Machines, and then Tim White himself is now inducted into the Hall of Fame. But it was back in 2012, I think it was 2012, when Tim passed away. Bruce came to the funeral because Bruce is an electrician and he had worked with Tim over the years. And so I got to know Bruce through that. And then we started doing a few Grand Prix, and Bruce was actually one of the tech guys in the pits for us during the Grand Prix. He also did that when he was when they had the Great North Woods Racing Series up in Colebrook and Errol. He was a tech man for them up there, and he helped us as well. And then we did when we started doing the Hall of Fame inductions, Bruce became a board member, and he was instrumental in later years in getting these people that I didn't know very well, but he did know, helped get them inducted as well. People that really needed to be in the Hall of Fame. And he would get their resumes, he would get their photos, he would follow up and make sure they could make the trip out. And it was just a blessing to have Bruce on board. It really was. And such a sad deal all around to lose Bruce Beaurivage.
it's true. He brought a lot to the Hall of Fame, and he was very detail oriented. You were talking about the things that he would do to get the inductees. I remember him giving driving directions to some of them. One of them was flying up from Florida, and gave him driving directions from the airport to the museum, and helped them arrange his lodging and everything, and just whatever they needed to make it possible for them to come.
Make it possible.
He did
even after they were inducted, he would call them up occasionally just to see how they were doing.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, unbelievable guy.
Yeah.
And there's huge shoes to fill right now for us at the Hall of Fame, to not have Bruce on board, and because he was a walking, talking encyclopedia for early snowmobile racing.
Yes, and he's well connected,
especially the 70s.
Yes.
And because he raced with those guys. And he was inducted in 2018. He won a World Series championship in '73 out in Boonville. And Malone. Extremely knowledgeable in especially Arctic cats and racing in general.
Yes. In fact, that's a perfect segue for this image. We have these two images. And it should be noted, you pointed this out to me as well, that 36 in the front there on the left is the same 36 that he's sitting on decades later. He kept that sled all through the years.
Yeah.
And that was on display in the museum there for a while too, wasn't it?
I'm not getting that image. I'm just getting Bruce standing in front of the museum right now, Mike.
Oh, I'm wondering if you're locked up, because it shows that your image is locked up.
Okay, I'm locked. Yeah, I guess I am locked. Yeah.
Well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm about to play a video clip of him,
Okay.
an interview I did with him. While I'm doing that, if you want to log out and back in
Okay. Sure.
and see if we get a better connection. So
Sure.
let's do that. I'm going to queue up that video clip, and
Okay.
we'll catch you on the other side here in just a minute.
Okay. I'll log out.
Okay, I'll just queue up this clip here.
Focusing. There we go. Whenever you're ready. Okay, my name is Bruce Beaurivage, and I raced Arctic Cat for 9 years. And I attended the 2019 Hall of Fame today and had a great time. Minge and Paul Crane, we all have to thank them, and Minge especially, for coming up with the idea. I was inducted last year, but too busy to get this interview. So it's happening today on a nice sunny day in Lancaster, New Hampshire. I won the World Series in 1973 in A-Stock on an Arctic Cat. I won the Kilkenny Cup in 1975 in Lancaster on a 650. I won the 650 class on a 440 Supermod Z. I was in the earlier years, we all raced stock. We all raced modified because there weren't any stock classes. In 1973, I raced the 250 LT Gray, and that's the one I won the World Series with. In a 4th place also in B stock. In 1974, we raced the same 250 and the 1974 295 Arctic Cat LT Gray. And George Gordon and I dominated the Eastern Division in points for A stock and B stock. It was either him or I that were winning. And he would go to New York and get his points, and I would go to stay in New England, Maine, New Hampshire, and Vermont to get my points, because we both were friends. And in 75, I decided to go in a modified class because Skidoo came out with the 245 RV, which was beating our 250 LT Gray. So I converted mine with a mod kit to a 440 mod and qualified for the World Series that year in both 440 mod and 650. In 650 class, I won at the Kilkenny Cup. And the week before the World Series, I blew my motor. That year, Chip Elwood got hurt in Bangor, Maine, and he had a 650. I had never driven a 650, but they could not get me a crankshaft soon enough to get my sled together for the World Series. So Clyde Fessler, the marketing director for Nero Equipment, arranged with Bill Aball for me to drive their sled in the World Series. So that was my first experience on a 650. And Herb Yancey will tell you that is the fastest 650 he ever drove, and the only one I ever drove, the fastest sled that I have ever driven in my life. Wow. So I crashed the sled. I didn't get hurt, but maybe it was a blessing I crashed when I did. I just never expected that kind of performance and drove right up in front of the guy that was in front of me and pulled the tether switch, and that was the history of it. So, and then I raced in 76. Arctic Cat didn't have good engines. They switched. Finally got my 440 Supermod going. Got bib number 36. I had earlier bibs of 56, 57 in stock, 55. George Gordon had 53 and 54. We were top. And 1977, I had a 340Z, but I got married. And during the middle of the race season, I was in Italy on my honeymoon. And my wife said, when you get home, this is it. And you're only going to play for one hockey team next year, not two. So that was the beginning or the ending of my marriage and racing snowmobiles. I had a great time today, and thanks again to Paul and Mitch and everybody that had a wonderful time, a reunion that can't be replaced.
Thank you so much.
Boy. Now your mic is out. Your microphone.
Yes, sorry about that. That was me. That was my bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, we ask that you include Bruce and his loved ones in your prayers, thoughts and prayers. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna.
No.
Did you have any more on him or?
Boy. It just it's a heartbreaker. It really is to lose Bruce Beaurivage. Yeah, he I used to get his phone calls all the time, and Yeah. There's a big hole now, in our vintage snowmobile world up here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. We've lost some good ones, some giants,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, with that, we're going to move on to the next one. This one's especially difficult because this is one of my best friends, and we lost him just before Christmas. But I'm going to do my best to get through it. This is one of my best friends here, Clark Paige. Now, Clark and I have been best friends since we were little kids. And I'm going to give you some backstory before I talk too much about Clark. This is an image of him and his family. And in the front there, his mother, her Mance. She passed a few years ago. Her husband passed in the mid 80s. Clark is the one with the black shirt and kind of the green shirt over it. And those are all of his siblings and their spouses. Now, we were neighbors with them growing up, and we did everything together. One of the quote unquote everythings we did together was do a lot of snowmobiling. Now, they were an Arctic Cat family, we were an Arctic Cat family, and we didn't just have Arctic Cats, we were Arctic Cat people. We were cat people. The cats, the clothing, the whole experience. And I don't know if you remember that Arctic Cat campaign, Good Times Are Coming on the Cat. Well,
Yeah.
we felt that campaign was for us, that they'd made that campaign for us. So, like I said, we did everything together and as families, and we've maintained friendships with all of these people in this image all through the years, just really close with them. Where else was I going to go with that? So here's some more images of Clark, him and his wife, his lovely wife, Jolene. We ask that you include her in your prayers and all of his family and friends, because this happened just so recently and suddenly, very difficult for all of us. Another good shot of them. Here's a shot of us. We had a visit, I don't know, 7 or 8 years ago, and that's his mom in the yellow top. The other two are my parents, and of course Clark and I on the left. And that when we were kids, like I said, we used to do a lot of snowmobiling together, trail riding, us as the two families, as well as others that we would snowmobile with. We'd meet up with others throughout the day. But on the days that we weren't doing the trail riding as families together, many a Saturday morning, Clark would come by. Now, I have to add before I tell the rest of this story, Clark was my big brother. He and I were the closest of age of all the Paige kids, but he was a few years older than me. He was 3 years older than me. So he was my big brother in so many ways, so many wonderful ways. But one of those ways is that he would come by on many a Saturday morning. Let's see, he would have been 11. I would have been 8. I was too young at that point to ride snowmobiles by myself. So he would come by on his dad's Panther, and we would ride all morning, all Saturday morning. And we'd stop for lunch and have lunch either at his place or at my place. We'd gas up, go back out again until supper. And we did that many a Saturday. Another wonderful memory I have with him that's associated with snowmobiling is they probably same winter, they had some drag races out in Yogi Carrier's Field in Canaan, Vermont. That's where we lived, in Canaan, Vermont. And he and I really wanted to go to that. And I don't remember if it was his parents or my parents that took us to that, but we ended up going to those drag races, and we just had the best time. We managed to position ourselves as close to the action as we could possibly get without being in anyone's way. And we just had the best time. And of course, being cat people, I think he had an official, from the dealer Arctic Cat jacket. I had probably a Sears jacket, but my mother had sewn some cat patches on it. So we thought we were pretty good, kind of flying the flag for cat, and it was fun. Anyone who was around in those days, the early 70s, there was so much excitement around all the brands. And whatever your brand was, you had patches or clothing or hats. And it was exciting to kind of fly the flag for your brand. And we were doing that. And again, we were just a couple of young kids, but right there, right up to the action, and you could experience all of the sights, the smells, and the sounds of drag racing. Those crackling tuned pipes and the smell of the two-stroke, the smell of the racing fuel, and just to see the intensity of those racers. Those guys weren't there as a casual thing. These guys were serious, and it was just so exciting. And by the end of that day of watching the drag racing, we were both hoarse from cheering them on and hooting and hollering, and we just had the best time you could possibly imagine. So just a couple of memories of Clark, associated with snowmobiling. And then the other thing I have to mention, his mother there in the yellow top, and this is also her in the front there. She is a cousin of Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Famer Claude Hebert. So there's another kind of tie-in, snowmobile tie-in with all of this. And then if anyone who happened to watch the cat patches video that Midge and I did a couple of months ago, same family, the Paige family right here. Yeah, we just did so much together, but we did a lot of snowmobiling together, and we were kind of Arctic cat families together. Just so many wonderful memories. And I guess to close this, what I'd like to do is I've got a video clip of Clark. This kind of shows his sense of humor, his personality, and his big heart. I'm just going to play it. It's from Christmas 23. It's going to take me a minute to cue it up. Sorry, folks. Here it is right here. It'll give you a laugh, though. This is worth it.
Oh, ho, ho! Merry Christmas, everybody! From the North Pole to the Northeast to the Northwest to the Southwest to the Southeast to the South. We want you all to have a Merry Christmas. I'll be coming through tonight, and if you've been naughty, you ain't gonna have no presents underneath the tree. If you've been good, you're gonna love what I'm gonna give you this season. All them boys and girls out there, I hope they have a very Merry Christmas. To my family and friends across the nation, I love you all. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
So, yeah, that just says it all about his personality,
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a hell of a guy. Yeah. Anything to add to that, Midge? Or?
I got to tell you, if anybody has a friend like that, and they haven't seen him for for a long time, give them a call and tell them just how much you appreciate having them as a friend.
It's true.
Don't let it slide, because you know what? You may not have a chance to ever say anything. What you want to tell them. Life is too short.
Yeah, that's true, and that's my regret. Is I thought we had more time.
Yeah. No, you just never know. So if anybody's got a good close friend or somebody that used to be as close as Clark is to Mike here when you were kids, and you haven't talked to him for years, give him a call.
Yes.
That's all I can say.
Yes. And then I guess to transition out of this, hopefully with a little bit of humor, because maybe we need that right now. As I was saying, Clark's mother was cousins with Claude Hebert, legendary Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Famer. Now, I just happen to have Claude's induction clip here, where he tells a really funny story, which I think is what we need right now before we go into the next clip. But let's take a look at his cousin here being inducted into the Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame.
Claude Hebert, racer promoter, inducted into the Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame 2019. Claude's exceptional racing talent in the early 1960s was noticed by a local Colbert motorski dealer, who then hired him as their driver. He was soon invited to race for the Eastern Motorski distributor Rockwell Incorporated. It was here that Claude not only became New England sales manager for Rockwell, but worked closely with the motorski factory on engine development to increase horsepower, and was involved in the many rule requirements for racing. His role in production testing and new model development, along with a full racing schedule each season, contributed greatly to motorski's success. When Rockwell Distributors ceased as a distributor for snowmobiles, Claude accepted the job as New England regional manager for Snowjet, now owned by Kawasaki Motors. Claude was soon promoted to as national international sales manager and involved in the Grand Rapids, Michigan, where he was involved in production testing, product development, and was involved in the development and promotion of the TOC Tournament of Champions. In 1969, on an icy Sunday morning at the Lancaster Grand Prix racetrack, snowmobile racer Claude Hebert, driving a 634 motor ski, got into a first turn skirmish with a Nordic cat rider and delivered to the snowmobile racing world the first real glimpse of the element of danger to this new sport. Will always be remembered as the guy who cut off a telephone pole.
You know, I never saw a pole because I thought I could use the berm and get around. My three-cornered files didn't hold. So I was going up to the berm, and then I see all these kids and people behind the fence. I thought, oh my God, that's where I'm going. Next thing I knew, when I came to, I was paralyzed. I was blind, and I thought, what in the hell happened? Somebody grabbed my foot, and I could feel it. I thought, shit, I'm not paralyzed. So I was right between the snowbank and the fence. They pulled me out of there. I'm still blind. I turned my helmet around. I still didn't know what happened. The pole was on the track, and my motor ski's upside down on the fence. What? Well, I never saw the pole. That was the most amazing thing ever. And then they got my sled out, and I realized, hell, my brake cable was broke. I couldn't slow down anyway. So that was my day. It's a pleasure to be here and to accept this on behalf of the telephone pole and life.
They took him to the hospital, checked him out, he came back that same day and started racing again.
I didn't go very fast, but my brake cable was still broken.
Claude is still promoting though. Claude has been instrumental in helping us find these different racers and everything the last couple of years on the internet. He's all the time looking for people, and he's been very helpful. So Claude's always doing something for us.
Okay.
I want to thank Rick Simula for the work he's done in developing the site. And that has brought together so many of the races and names from yesterday that we had all long forgotten. And all of a sudden, the stories they come out with and the memory these guys have is just unbelievable. I think Bruce Beaurivage...
Don't ask them what they had for breakfast.
Bruce Beaurivage can tell you every race he was ever in and what position he was in. You know, who remembers that stuff? So thank you, and for Paul Crane and you, Ed, for all the work you've done in that. Appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Yeah, so a moment of levity there with our good friend Claude Hebert.
Yeah.
And I want to be clear, just as a point of clarity, we're remembering racers and people associated with snowmobiling that have passed. To my knowledge, Claude has not passed. We're playing this because he's a cousin.
Claude's still with us. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he just happens to be cousins of a good friend of mine who passed, and that I kind of tied that in. So I want to make sure we're not starting any rumors or stories here.
Yeah.
But great man, great friend, Claude Hebert. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, he's one of the very early pioneers of the sport.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he was involved on many levels with motorski, from racing to marketing and promotion. And
oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And when he left motorski, he went, like I said on the plaque there, he went right to Snowjet, and from there to Kawasaki. And
yes. And what was the race series that he had a hand in?
Yeah, the Tournament of Champions. If
Thank you.
anybody can remember, back in the late 70s, Kawasaki had identical sleds built, and the top champions of the day would race these identical Kawasaki Invaders on a racetrack, very similar to IROC, was for NASCAR. They'd put all the top drivers on them, and see what, go head to head on identical machines and see which one is the best driver. Yeah. They did that for a couple of years. And of course, Kawasaki bowed out of snowmobiling. So,
yeah. And I almost think that race series was his idea.
It was, he was instrumental in helping get that off the ground.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons why he's inducted into the Hall of Fame, not only for his racing, but for his promotion.
Yeah. A true legend.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, cool. So let me pull this off the screen. And the last one we're going to do tonight is my father, who passed last March. Let me pop a graphic on the screen from him. This is on the left is him before his stroke and before all of the decline, the physical and cognitive decline and everything. And then, of course, when he was in the military in his late teens and early 20s on the right there. Here's a family Christmas 2 or 3 years ago. I'm not sure which year exactly, but a family Christmas there. It's my brother and his wife on the left, my niece and her husband on the right, and Carlene and I in the back. And just a really nice Christmas. Mm-hmm. Now, it's got to be said, if not for his decision to go all in on snowmobiling in the early 70s, Midge and I have said this before, Midge and I might not have ever met, and I probably would not be doing this podcast and all of this snowmobile stuff that I do. So definitely a big, salute and hats off to him for going all in on snowmobiles in the early 70s. And then you combine that with, the experiences we had with the Paiges, riding and all the things we did with them on snowmobiles and other things too. And there's other friends that I had, of course, associated with snowmobiling, but between my dad and the Paiges, those are two huge pieces of the puzzle as to why I do all of this podcast stuff about snowmobiling and all of this. Also, quick mention, his sister passed in September. They were very close. This is his sister on the right there with my dad. And these are her children, her adult children, my beloved cousins. Just a quick shout out to them, because to me, I'm mourning it all as kind of a collective experience because they were so close and I'm so close with them.
Right.
But rather than go on myself about this, I've got a video clip that I did with my dad about a year before he passed. And in the video, you can kind of see his cognitive decline, but we were able to still get some good stories and kind of get a sense of where he was as far as his experience with snowmobiling and what his motivations were and like that. So let me find that clip and we will take a look.
I guess the best place to start is what first caught your attention about snowmobiles that got you interested enough that you'd want to buy one?
Well, everybody was having so much fun. Everybody had a machine. Some people had 2, 3 machines, and I wanted one too. And do you remember the first machine I had?
I do. I think it was a Ski-Doo Olympic, maybe 69 or so. That yellow one.
I don't remember that one.
No? Because I know it was okay, but you thought it was a little tippy. So you were wanting something with more of a smoother ride and something more comfortable for the trail.
Is this where I got the Arctic Cat?
It is, yeah. The 72 Cheetah.
That was an Arctic Cat.
Yeah, with the 440.
Oh, that was yes. Yes, that was a wonderful machine. That was beautiful. It was fast. It wasn't as fast as Lee Richardson's machine, though.
Sure.
He had a garage just down the street from us, and he was very mechanical. And we went for a ride all over the place. The factory foremen were having their annual or monthly dinner, I don't know what it was, but it was out at a guy's hunting shack or a snowmobile shack or something. It was a pretty fancy cabin. And so Lee Richardson and I went down. Well, we had to go from our house way up almost to the main trail, and then come down. And there was we followed on the brook. It was all frozen over and everything. And he was in front of me. And my machine was a pretty big one. I think it was an Arctic Cat then.
Yes.
Big Arctic Cat. And then I sunk. And so I went to the back to try to lift it up, and I'm sinking down deeper. My head is just over the back of the bumper, back seat.
The back of the seat.
And so there's nothing, I can't get out of there because I keep sinking lower. And finally, Lee Richardson comes back, pulls me out of there, gets the machine out, and we continued on our way down.
And he was a very competitive rider too. Didn't he race motorcycles at one point, and he was able to carry some of those skills over to his snowmobile? And,
Marshall Ames?
no, Lee.
Lee Richardson. Yes, I think so. Well, he was a mechanic, so people would bring their machines to him to fix for them. He had a garage there at Wallace. Yeah. And I remember the Arctic Cat, big Arctic Cat, and brought Brian, my youngest son. You are Mike, my oldest son.
Yes.
Well, anyway, my youngest son was, I'm going to say 4th or 5th grade.
Yeah.
And he liked that great big machine. He loved that great big machine. And we were going to take it down to the snowmobile dealer and to trade it for another machine. And Brian was crying because he liked that great big machine. He looked like a little tiny tot on a very big machine. And I said, don't cry now. Wait till we get to the dealer and then cry.
So you negotiate a better price?
Yeah, I tried to negotiate a better price.
Yeah.
So I don't know if Brian did that or not, but you and I and Brian went down and we bought something, traded that big Arctic Cat in there. And the Arctic Cat was great, except it was big, heavy, got stuck easy.
And I think this was the '69 Panther we're talking about.
Yes.
Yeah.
Big Arctic Cat.
With a gas tank in the back.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. But that was I think was that the first machine we had?
No, that was the third machine, and I think you traded that for a Polaris TX, a '76 or '77 Polaris TX 250.
Fast. That was a fast.
That was fast too.
Fast.
Very fast.
Yeah. Not as fast as Lee Richardson's machine, no.
No.
He had a fast machine.
And a lot of it had to do with him on it. He was a very skillful rider.
Oh yes. Yeah. Trying to think of some other snowmobile stories.
Well, while you're thinking, I've got one, and I think she just pulled in here. But I'll see if you remember this. But this was with the Panther we were just talking about, the '69 Panther, with the gas tank in the back, single cylinder. So I don't know how many cc's it would have been, but that's not really part of the story. But there was a big across by Daly's camp there, across the road. There was a long snowdrift the plow had made, or a snowbank, I should say, and you'd managed to get up on top of that, and you were going to try to ride the length of it. And at about halfway across there, it started to get a little tippy. So you just kind of stepped off and lifted your leg and your arm, and the thing rolled down 2 complete revolutions and landed on the ground.
Right side up?
Right side up. And the engine never skipped a beat. And all you did was just kind of push the windshield up because that had gotten flattened, but there wasn't a scratch or anything wrong with the rest of it. Yeah. Do you remember that? Or?
Oh, I don't. This is a long while ago.
Yeah, this is 50 years ago.
Yeah, I'm practically 91 years old, so
my
memory is not as good. It's not as good as it was when I was only 90.
Yeah.
And actually, we talk about snowmobiles, which that was many years ago.
Yes, that was over 50 years ago.
Yeah.
Now, do you remember the ride-ins and the group rides we used to do? We'd end up at a restaurant many times. Then we'd start out just either us and Paige's or us and Richardson's, and as we'd go, we'd meet up with other people, and now they're part of the convoy, and then we meet up with other convoys, and we join theirs, and by the end of the day, there's dozens and dozens of people, and we'd maybe stop in the middle of the day with a campfire and cook some hot dogs, and then later on in the day for supper, we'd end up at a restaurant, usually either the Northland or the Norton restaurant, and there'd be just dozens and dozens, and I don't know how many snowmobilers, but the place was just jammed with snowmobilers.
Oh, snowmobiling was big.
Yeah.
Up in the woods up here. And we were at the end, out in the woods, about as far as you can go up the northeast corner.
We were pretty remote, yeah.
Vermont.
Yeah, it was a small town. We were 4 miles outside of the small town.
Yeah.
So we were pretty remote.
Yeah. So we had to go quite a ways before we got on the trail.
Yes.
But the trails were nice.
Yeah.
I remember mostly Jackie with her machine, and we would stop for a break, and she would go up against a tree, the bumper against a tree. Now, there's a ski on each side of the tree. Now, as I try to pull that back, the skis dig in.
So, yeah, some stories for yesteryear.
Yeah.
The good old days. But it's funny, I talk about his cognitive decline, but you could see he could still crack some pretty good jokes.
Yeah. He said his memory was a lot better when he was 90.
Yeah, exactly. And
he's almost 91 here, but he said my memory was a lot better about a year ago.
Yes. But you should have heard his wit before the cognitive decline. He was as sharp as they come, and witty and clever and funny.
Yeah.
And of course, which of course came from his father. His father was absolutely hilarious. Yeah, quite the sense of humor.
He did very well, though.
Yes.
I mean, let's face it, 90, 91, that's getting up there.
Yes.
He did very well.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, so all of the people that we've remembered tonight, if you could include them in your thoughts and prayers, and
Absolutely,
we lost
please.
some good ones in 2024, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we've got a comment that's come in. Several comments. Here we go. Ned is saying, "Are you related to Leo Lapierre?" Not that I'm aware of. Maybe far back, but not that I'm aware of. People ask me a lot if I'm related to Wayne Lapierre, which I don't. Not directly. We never got together with them or anything. But he looks a lot like one of my cousins. So if you go back far enough, there probably is a connection with Wayne Lapierre. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Mike Whiteside says, "Do you still live in the house you grew up in?" No, unfortunately, they sold that in '87. That was a wonderful place too. Great place now, but it's yeah, they sold that in '87. We had a place on the lake, and yeah, it was pretty sweet. And here we go. Our good friend, mutual friend Carolyn Eastman is here tonight. She's saying, "Good evening, gentlemen. Thank you for the special segment remembering the beautiful people who have left us and the great memory of their legacy of their involvement with the snowmobile industry. God bless each of their memories. I will pray for the families who have lost such wonderful people for comfort and to cherish the rich memories. Mike, your package is leaving Rosso tomorrow." She's sending me a DVD. She says, "Midge, have a great week, and thank you for such a special hour." And yeah, and thank you for viewing, Carolyn, and thank you for the DVD you're sending me. I appreciate
How
that.
special is that? Oh,
yeah.
My goodness, Carolyn. What a great lady.
Yes. And the last time we were doing this, Midge, 1 month ago, we were remembering her husband, the legendary Bob Eastman.
Yeah.
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 When it comes to
every once in a while, somebody will pop something up on Bob, and all the top writers would mention, how great Bob Eastman was as a competitor and as a sportsman, and you'll never see a bad word ever spoken about Bob.
Very classy guy. No, it's true. It's true. And we've got another comment from Carolyn giving us some flags and hearts. Appreciate that. And Ned is saying Leo was a mail contractor out of Plattsburgh. Yeah, none of that rings a bell. Most of us are out of either Vermont or Quebec, but the Leo that you're talking about may very well have ties to Quebec. And apparently, I'm going to say, I don't know if it's my great grandparents or I think one step above that, great grandparents. Apparently, there were a number of sons, and they had a falling out with the father, and they all went their separate ways, and were never in contact with again with any of them. Oh. So those branches of the family we don't have contact with. Not because we don't want to have contact with them, just because that happened over 100 years ago, and those are the consequences of it. Is those generations just lost all contact, which is unfortunate. So I'm thinking as I hear, are you related to this Lapierre, that Lapierre? It could very well be, one of those Lapierres that ended up branching off in different directions, going their own way. So that's kind of the nuanced answer to that question. So
and some spell their name with a capital P, where yours is a capital L and all lowercase after that. So
yes. And that may have changed along the way as well, too.
Yeah.
All it takes is one person to change it, and
right,
just because they like it that way. And it's funny you say that. Most of my relatives pronounce it Lapierre, and I started pronouncing it Lapierre. I think phonetically, that to me, I think that's how it should be pronounced. But,
I think so too. Yeah.
But Lapierre, I answered all of it. As long as it's spelled right on the check.
Yeah.
But Mike Whiteside says, "Thank you both. Great tribute tonight. Appreciate that." Yes. And anything we haven't talked about, Midge, that we should have or missed tonight?
Well, just reiterate that, you never know what's going to happen. And just reach out to somebody that's been special to you over the years and tell them how you feel. It only take a few minutes of your time, and because you can wake up tomorrow and you could either be gone or they could be gone, and that's what we're talking about tonight.
That's
is
true.
Losing these people unexpectedly.
Yeah.
And it's just
that's true. And I'm
there's
feeling
so
that
many
especially
words
with
left
Clark.
unsaid.
I'm feeling that especially with Clark because we were such
Right.
good friends, and we would send jokes to each other on Facebook, and we would talk maybe once every year, year and a half, and
Mhm.
we just thought we'd have more time, you know,
Right.
to whatever the final conversations we would have wanted to have, you know, as
Right.
he was one of my best friends, definitely top
Right.
5 friends, you know, and yeah,
Right.
that's a big regret, but
Yeah. Yeah.
but I'm thankful for everything we had all through those years.
That's
you
right.
know? Yeah, and the same with my father as well. But at least with my father, I mean, we were close near the end. We were able to say the things we wanted to say to each
Yeah.
other,
Yeah. Yeah.
and we were there when he passed, and you know those kinds of things. None of it's easy,
No.
but yeah, your point is well taken, though. You know, the people that we really care about, it's important to be in touch with them, tell them how you feel, and
Right.
because we don't always have the time we think we're going to have.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah.
Hmm.
So yeah, thank you to everyone for viewing this. We really appreciate it. It was a difficult thing. I wasn't sure I was going to get through with it. Get through it, I should say. Somehow I managed to.
Well,
Someone was
Mike can
watching over
attest
us
to doing those inductions and talking about you know, these people that have passed away that we're trying to induct. And what was it 2020, 2023 when we did it at the fairgrounds there, and that young man that passed away. Boy, I can't. It's
Roland.
just can't think of his name now.
I can't either, but that was very touching. That was.
Yeah, I mean, I lost it. You know.
Yeah, and I was having a hard time too, just listening to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't think it's a bad thing. You know, it's if we're not doing it, how do I say it? It shows that our hearts are in it, and
Yes.
why do it if your heart isn't into it?
Yes.
You know, and that's kind of the way I look at it, and I can look past things like that, and I'm often at the ceremonies. Sometimes when you get choked up, I get choked up with you, just because I can feel it. You know.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah. So yeah, unless there's anything else, I think we're going to call it a night. And thank you to everyone for viewing this. We really appreciate it.
Yeah,
and
appreciate
please include the loved ones of all of these people we've honored tonight in your thoughts and prayers. And because we lost a lot of good ones in 2024, and a lot of us are still feeling it.
Yeah.
So trying to get through it. And so any thoughts, prayers, anything that you can share for all of these people we've honored tonight. I'm going to pop the graphics so you can see their names. Gary Allen, James Spranger, Roger Poulin, Bruce Beaurivage, Clark Paige, and Donald Lapierre. We lost some good ones last year.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. With that, thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful evening. We'll catch you with third Sunday of February for another installment.
Okay, Mike. Thank you for doing this.
My pleasure. Thank you for doing it with me. I couldn't have done it without you. All right, everyone.
Yeah.
Happy New Year.
I love you, man.
Love you, man. Exactly. All right. Take care.
All right.